Well, they can go down really far, I guess. If you want to go down, I saw a guy use his 16 gauge once. I don't recommend that. I don't know what it was. He just straight crazy.
Yeah, I'm on a video of this dude.
The 28 gauge is kind of like a good starting point. It's kind of like the standard. Obviously, the people that go lower. I like 26 gauge personally, but some people like 24. Some people like 22 gauge. Some people want to use 20 gauge. People are different. You know what I mean? There's no real right or wrong. But there's definitely the difference between being dangerous and not being dangerous, and not knowing what you're doing, and putting yourself at risk. So 28 gauge, you're using a 30 amp battery. It would be difficult to do something dangerous on this. Build wise, I'm going to show you a couple things you want to avoid. You want to avoid shorts, and shorts are going to happen if you have the coil touch anything but itself. The wires can touch themselves, but they can't touch anything else metal, and that'll cause shorts. This particular build I'm going to do, I'm using 28 gauge wire, and I'm using 2 of them, and I'm running them side by side. I'm going to do something called a microcoil. It's where you take and wrap on a drill bit, like this, and you want to get those coils as close together as possible without overlapping. The theory with using the 2 wires would be that you get twice the amount of surface area for half the resistance. So you're going to get coil looks kind of like that. We're going to get it tighter here in a minute, but right now it's pretty tight. I mean, they're touching.
How many times are you going around?
That time I did four wraps. If I did less wraps, it'd be less resistance, meaning they would heat up a lot faster.
Okay.
This right here is gonna rip pretty good, especially for something that this is something that's new to you. I'm gonna take and feed this through the center eyelet. I cut one a little bit longer than the other, just makes it a little bit easier to feed through.
So okay, so that's on purpose for that reason.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And then I work them both through. You can kind of get something like that to help grip it, and then pull it in. You don't want it right on top of the post, like I said. You don't want it touching. But it's going to be a lot different than cigarettes. About that distance right there, and you want to keep that drill bit in there the whole time. Especially when you go to tighten the screws, you want to maintain its dimensions, its shape and its size.
Okay.
And I'm pushing this. I'm like kind of pushing that over right now, so it'll be more towards the middle. And then when I got where I want it, I'm gonna tighten it. So like that. You don't want to over tighten either, because if you over tighten, you'll snap the wire.
Okay. Makes sense.
And then cut off your excess. Toenail clippers work great. You can really get in there.
So you're cutting it pretty close. Like
Pretty close. Yeah. You don't have to go all the way down. I just go like that, and then I just take something and push them up.
Okay.
That. And then, well, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to check the resistance first. I kind of already have an idea what this should be reading. Yeah. But we'll go ahead and put it on here anyway. This is reading 0.585. It's moving around a little bit. It'll probably stabilize and probably go lower in resistance once I'm done tightening up the coils. I'm just going to pulse this a little bit. I'm not going to just press the button and hold it down. I'm just going to kind of like that. See how it's uneven? It was really hot on this side, but not on the other side. See how uneven that is?
Yeah.
It's kind of evening out a little bit, right?
Yep.
So you're going to get that kind of hot, and then you're going to press them together like this. Hold it down.
How much pressure are you applying to that?
Not too much, because if you go too hard, then you might collapse the coil.
Okay.
It's a little bit more even. What you're really looking for is for it to heat from the inside out. So you know you got a good microcoil set up. Another little trick you can do too is get something like this and scratch the surface. That always seems to do the trick. I think this is loosening up a little bit. The other thing too is when you heat those coils, especially in the beginning, is that the wire expands from the heat and sometimes loosens these nuts up a little bit.
Okay.
So periodically you might want to go back and check, especially if it's not hitting hard. You might want to go back there and just tighten those up just a little bit. There we go.
Looks good.
Oh, so every time you drip, it's about how many hits? It's about a drop of drag.
Yeah, for the most part, it's firing from the inside out. Not perfectly, but it'll work.
Yeah, like a tag system. Yeah, that's more like.
It's pretty good. So, let's say you've been using it for a couple days and you think it's time to take the cotton out of there. You just pull the cotton out, and you would make a new wick. So in this case, we just use. I already got this one started. Cotton balls, organic cotton balls. I got these from Walgreens. I like them. They work, and they're like $4 for a bag, and it's gonna last you a year.
Okay.
So then I just take them, and they unravel. If you can just find the beginning of it, it can be a little difficult sometimes, but. You want to get it flat like that, and then this. In this case, I'm actually going to use that whole width because I did an 1/8 of an inch drill bit, which is rather large for a microcoil. But the reason I do that is because we're only running a single wick in here, as opposed to having a coil on both sides. And so now with the 1/8 of an inch diameter, I can get a little more cotton in there. Not to drip as often. I fold it in half, and then I do this, fold it in half again. And then what I do is I rock it back and forth, like this. Kind of just basically crushing it, making it denser. I see a lot of people, they'll get a piece of cotton, you know, and then it'll just kind of go like this. Done. You know, what's happening there too, I mean, you're going to make little pinch points in there, right? I mean, that juice is going to follow the path of least resistance, and if you got a bunch of twists and turns in there, it's gonna pocket up in some areas and dry out in others, just because it's not flowing freely enough. Okay. With this, we're trying to avoid that as much as possible, and I'm rocking it back and forth, but not really rocking in one particular direction. You know what I mean? So I can crush this and make it dense, and then the end of it, you want to make it come to a point. It's going to make it a lot easier for you to pull it through the coil.
How often are you replacing the cotton in this?
I do mine about every day or two.
Really?
Some people wait longer, some people wait less, but it's really entirely up to you. Like, let's say you were trying some flavors and you got this flavor that just won't get out of your wick, like a cinnamon flavor.
Yeah.
Do you say you like the cinnamon flavors?
I do.
Okay, let's say you were sick of it though.
Yeah.
Cinnamon is really hard to get out of your cotton. Let's say you want to go to another flavor, then you would pull it just so that you can start all over again.
Okay.
But I would recommend pulling it out every day or two, just so that you get the opportunity to clean that coil again.
Okay.
It seems to be working great for me, and I've run on the same coil for weeks and weeks on end. And then you pull it through. That's right about the right resistance. You don't want it to have a real difficult time coming through there, but you don't want it loose either.
What size drill bit did you use?
I used the 1/8 of an inch.
Okay.
Some people go smaller. In this case though, I wanted it bigger on purpose, just so that I can get a little more weight in it. And then kind of cut it like a bow, looks like a bow tie. You can blow in on the sides there to kind of fan that out. I'm not going to do that since we're getting ready to put juice on it. I want to blow my germs in your atomizer. So I'm just going to take this and just kind of open it up. I'm fanning it out. I usually take the bottom half of that and kind of direct it down to the well.
You have a wrench 99 near your.
So any kind of residual juice that ends up in this well will get re-wicked back up into the atomizer. And I do the same thing on the other side.
Oh, wow, that's going 8 all the way. Wow, you live in El Centro? It's hot there.
Pretty much done. And that's it. Now you just juice it up, and you're ready to go. Do you have some juice you want to put in here?
Yeah. Let's do that cheesecake.
We can check the resistance again if you want, just to see if the resistance went down since I pulsed it and got all the little hot spots out of the way. And it dropped all the way down to .376.
Okay, very cool. Very cool.